Appreciate you guys joining me. I'm actually in Woodstock, Maryland, just outside of Ellicott City, Maryland, which is just outside of Columbia, Maryland, which is outside of Baltimore, which is outside of DC. And if you don't know where DC is, you're on the wrong session. So appreciate you guys joining us today. Chris from Southern Maryland. I love it, love it, love it. And you can let me know where you're coming in from. Today, I really appreciate you, first of all, for taking a few minutes to hear about how interagency briefings work. We leverage GovBrief to educate and engage federal decision makers. That's why we built it. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. In the agenda, you'll see we're actually talking about leveraging Doge as well. I am going to flip things around a little bit. So anybody with OCD, just hold on. I'll actually follow this, but I'm going to flip one of the case studies up ahead of the Doge, just so that you can see what's happening. We're going to flip those around a little bit. Today is all about interagency briefings. We're going to tell you what they are. We're going to talk about how they work and how you can use them to reach and influence decision makers. So Joan Johnson, who does presentations on GovBrief, she said, you know what you should do? You should always start with bluff, the bottom line up front. Give us the differentiators. What happens? That's the other thing that Brian Hebel says to me. He says, tell me your differentiators up front. So I'm going to do that. And this is kind of like, it's kind of like weird because it's kind of like the shoemaker's sons or cobbler's sons, whatever it is, you know, you think about it. We do marketing for people all the time. We just don't market ourselves normally. And just like anybody else that's out there, I'm going to tell you everything that I can about how we do things, and hopefully it makes sense to you. I'll give you the differentiators, like Brian said, and give you the bluff, the bottom line up front. So first things first, we have an incredible government and industry database. As you can see, we have millions of folks in here, over 1.4 million. At least that's how many we had. I'm not sure how many are still there. Nobody really knows yet. And 77,000 procurement contacts. So we know who's buying in the space. We've been tracking this for a while. I'll tell you a little bit about ISI Federal in a minute. But this has turned into the trusted government platform that we market out to federal government decision makers. So that's the idea. We have done over 1,200 of these sessions where we're focusing directly to government decision makers. And we've had over 110,000 folks from the government join us. You'll see that we do white glove support. That means we handle everything from soup to nuts. And you'll see this background just about everywhere because I'm still the main host. And then we provide a finalized professional video that I'll show you some of those as well. And I want to just say this, that now is a great time to do briefings because I was just talking to Sally White. I don't know if Sally's here. She might pop in. I don't see her. But Sally, if those of you that have been on the Monday roundtables or involved with anything else that we've done, Sally was at the Vets Conference last week, and there were hardly any government people there. When normally they have multiple different folks from the VA and other sometimes other agencies as well. And they dropped the P cards to be able to spend $1 on travel, and they're reviewing every single thing. So timing is really good for this, and I'll give you some examples of things that we've done with that. And we also have impacts from Doge. The number one thing that's happening in Doge is that the federal employees, their butts are on fire now in a different way than they've ever been. And so they're looking for answers, but they have the budget cuts. They can't do the industry. A lot of the industry sessions are cut back because of different budget cuts. So they need answers, and we got to get them those answers. So that was a particularly good time. And another reason is we see that prime contractors, the big boys especially, are being squeezed, or they're losing the contracts altogether. We saw Lenovo. It was Leidos. Lost a $5 billion deal. A lot of the big boys have already gone and sharpened their pencils and pulled back on some of their contracts. So Doge is really having a big impact on primes. And that leaves us with opportunities as small businesses because we're agile, we're hungry, we want to get in and influence these things. And that's what we're all about. So we're looking for companies who sincerely want to reach and influence federal decision makers so that they can win more federal work. And if this is you, I'll have my pitch. This is the pitch for you to be able to say, hey, this is a great time to do these briefings. We'll show you how they work. We'll show you why they work. I'll tell you how it all got started, and we'll dive into it together. So, and again, I really, really appreciate you guys joining me today. So if you would, let me know how long you've been in business, whether you have any business together already with the federal government, either direct federal contracts or maybe as a sub or teaming partner, or maybe not yet. And that's why you're really interested in learning about how to reach federal decision makers to make an impact. And then if you would, let me know what problem you're trying to solve today by being here. And I'll do my best to be able to address those for you. And while you're finishing that up, I just have a few definitions that you can review here. I will get you the handouts momentarily. In fact, let me just grab this real quick, and I'll pop that into my documents. 1 second, and I'll have that for you. Oh, boogers. That's not working. Let me try another one. Try this. There we go. That should work. All right, here we go. Real quick, while you're filling that out, I will pop this into the chat, and you will have access to the handouts. And I would like to know if you could click that top link, and it should look something like this. Thumbs up if that works for you when you click on that top link, because I want to make sure you have that. That way you can see this list and I don't have to read them right now. Fantastic. All right. But we will, a couple different things. Be the SME is what we talk about here, becoming the subject matter expert to be the trusted resource. Govies mean federal employees, and you can see the rest of these, decision maker, DM. Most of these you'll probably know. A couple at the bottom that you might not be familiar with, IDIQ, indefinite delivery, definite quantity. We'll talk a little bit about that in one of the case studies, and then call to action being your CTA. Everybody got it? We good? If you can't get to a text, let me know in the text. Every once in a while something wigs out and we can't get to what we want to in these things. So I appreciate you joining me for that. Now, while you're filling that out, we'll leave that open for a little bit longer. We've got 80% participatory in that. I really appreciate it. So I started ISI Federal in 2009. I actually started selling into the government in 2007 with zero experience. My resume looked like this. No relationships, no sales experience in the federal government, no business development, never responded to an RFP, didn't know what GSA meant. But I had a client that wanted in on the federal government. They said, Dave, I want you to do this. And I said, I don't want to do it. You get shot by bullets you can't see. I didn't want to be here, ladies and gentlemen. But alas, when they said, what's it going to take? And I said, $12,000 a month. And they said, do it. And I said, you're crazy. You know what my resume said? It's a blank sheet of paper. And I said, I'm taking your money. And so from there, I started to learn about how to do this. And then I turned it into a company in 2009 to help folks just like you. Now, I had a problem. I couldn't get to decision makers. Thumbs up if everybody else has that same problem. Anybody else have that same problem? That we are together, right? We have the same thing. Shannon Reed, Barat, yep, absolutely. We're all in the same boat. I had to get meetings. I was doing representation in DC. So I'm going to lower your hand. Let me just lower that hand for a second. Let me see what else we got. There we go. Just making sure things are working the way they should. So I needed to get meetings. So I selfishly built GovBrief to have clients come on to talk about what they did education-wise, so that I could get the follow-up meeting, so I could get sales. And what this did is this turned into what we called interagency briefings. Why? because they didn't care about webinars. They didn't know what webinars were in 2012. It was actually rare because we were cool before COVID online, just saying. And so we did it to reach the Govy decision makers, and that included leadership and program folks and procurement. We were just in procurement back then. Now we got so many folks that come to our sessions that we've become the trusted government-centered platform. Like I said, over 1,200 federally focused sessions where we're taking information to them with over 110,000 attendees. So what the heck does interagency briefing really mean? Well, like I said, these are government-focused education sessions. It's not meant to be a pitch. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a pitch. I'm pitching GovBrief. I'm pitching interagency briefings. I'm also doing a little bit of education, but most of the time, what we're doing on GovBrief is we're educating, but by doing that, if we do this right with our products or services, doesn't matter which one, we've done it for both. We'll show you some examples of both. And this gives us the opportunity to pick topics that are important to them, presented by experts like you. So we pick topics that are we'll talk about RPA, we'll talk about AI, we'll talk about ZTA, zero trust architecture. We'll talk about stuff like safety. We'll talk about vaccines. We'll talk about anything that's important to them. And we flip it upside down and say, who cares about this topic? And we do our targeting, so we do really well. But we pull these topics together and we put you as a subject matter expert in your field, which you are. And we use Zoom. Sometimes we use Teams, depends on the agencies that we're after or how you like to do it. Doesn't matter to me. That sometimes Teams is better, sometimes Zoom is better. So professionally hosted usually means me, and in this place. We do have some other folks that do hosting from time to time, but we have a professional host that handles everything from soup to nuts. It's generally 40 to 55 minutes long because it's like a breakout session, if you would, at an industry day where you get to be up in front of everybody, telling people, hey, these are the pain points that we see. Here's how we can help solve problems, or here's the best practices to help solve your problem. So we keep them short enough so they can get to their next meeting. Very important now that people are back in the office, right? I'm going to end this poll in another 5 seconds. So if you would, if you haven't filled it out yet, do me a favor and do that. Now, we do them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and they're usually 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. Every once in a while, we switch it around a little bit. If we're out after the West Coasters, we'll go a little bit later in the day. But the objective is to hit them at a time where it's good for them, and generally 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time is good. And we recommend doing this every 6 to 8 weeks. Somebody's got to adjust this PowerPoint. I just made a correction. Obviously, I missed it. Anyway, it's repeated. Recommend every 6 to 8 weeks, and no briefings between 9/1 and 10/15. They're not going to show up because of fiscal year end. All right. So I'm going to end this poll. I'm going to share this results. Let's see what everybody's got. 3% are brand new. All right. Fantastic. This will be interesting for you. 46%, 20 years plus. This is great. Because anybody that's been in business for that long knows what you're doing, and you know where you want to go, right? So, and 50-50, interesting, 50-50 direct contracts and sub or teaming. And as you can see, this doesn't add up because a lot of times you're punching each other and stealing each other's business, and other times you're working together as teaming partners, right? That's how that works. And let me go to these details real quick, and I'll see if we can see anything about what's most important. Wow, deep submerged vehicles for NAVSEA testing products. Love that. Mark wants to know about opportunities. Interested in cyber strategies. Getting cybers, right? That we're talking about that in a couple weeks with Joan Johnson from the Navy. Answers to when grantee will receive notification on grant applications. Wow. Don't know about that one for this session. Identification investigative, I love that. Get more contracts, Patricia, love that. Finding opportunities, actually creating opportunities. Jay Talbot is actually going to be on GovBrief, and he's here again. Let me say hey to Jay. How you doing, JJ? Good to see you as usual. You all right?
Yep, I'm here.
I love it, man. Expand awareness, what you do to get more business. And that's what you're going to be doing. When is your session?
June 24th.
June 24th. Well, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. If you want to throw in anything, you can unmute at any time because I always love your insight. If you don't know Jay Talbot, he's a regular at the Monday roundtables, Sam Radar member. Now, first time GovBrief coming up June 22nd, you said, right? Right, Jay?
Yep, the 24th.
24th. See that? Keep me honest. Appreciate that, Jay. All right, let's see. Doge cancellations. I see that. Reach out to more, Alana. Reaching out to more federal customers. I love it. Love it. Love it. How to find work in New York. I like that. Or find new work. I'm reading bad. Sorry about that. And winning more opportunities. That's exactly why we're here. Appreciate you guys taking the time to fill that out. All right. So what we do is we drive federal decision makers, similar to having an event, a live event that you would go to, where it would be, you would have a breakout session. So if you think about it, you draw those people in by your topic, by your subject that you're talking about. So we bring in top dogs. Sometimes we get like senior people coming in here. Most of the time we're in the project managers and program managers. That's usually where we want to play, right, everybody? That's where we want to play. Very, very hard to find program managers. We also draw in contracting officers, depending on what they are, and specialists, depending on what the presentation is about. One of the case studies is actually about a contract vehicle problem. So we drew in thousands of contracting officers. And then we also have influencers and end users that we can pull in that will help us understand their needs. Because if we don't understand their needs, it's very, very difficult for us to be able to say, hey, these are the pain points that you got. So we want to, this is how we solve your pain points. Ultimately, we want to establish you as the SME, the subject matter expert. And when you do this over and over, builds your reputation, as well as right then, you can start to identify people and start putting them into your pipeline. I'll show you how we've done it, and I'll show you some examples of that today. And so you can qualify those prospects and continue to cultivate those relationships. Ultimately, my favorite thing is to get my grubby fingerprints all over that RFP. All over it. That's what our job is when we're doing this. And I want to know, do you believe in influencing the RFP? I've never asked this question before. So I'm really interested in hearing this. Very interested in hearing this. I'm gonna let this one play out because I'm super interested in hearing it. And then if you could just let me know about that. So for those of you, I'm really, especially the ones, anybody that answered no, you don't think you should be able to influence the RFP. Can you raise your hand? I'd like to talk with you for a sec. Just want to see what your thoughts are. Anybody that did that? Okay, here we go. Hang on. All right. Venkata, am I saying that right? Can you unmute? I'm sorry. Hey, did I say Venkata, right?
Yes.
All right. So what do you do, Venkata?
Yeah, I do the cyber contracts. I almost own 6 phase ones.
Okay.
1 phase 2 sequence.
So you're between phase 1 and phase 2?
Yeah. And now phase 2 to phase 2 sequence.
Okay, good. Well, congratulations, because if you did
all by myself.
All by yourself.
Yeah, there is no influence, there is no lobbying, nothing.
So now you're saying you should not be able to influence the RFP, but you actually wrote your own RFP for the cyber.
Yeah, I wrote my my own when they give
Yeah, you vote your own because that's what a SIBR is. You're saying I'm gonna solve this. You have this problem. I'm gonna solve it this way, and they give you money to prove that you can solve that problem, right? Or at
yes, I
least,
can prove that problem, and also it because of these budget cards.
yeah,
Even to solve the problem, they are unable to fund phase two. I
I
did
got it.
it.
So
Yeah,
why
I
did?
did it very good in for just they gave me 100K, but I spent my from my pocket more than 100.
Well,
So I gave a solid proof of concept. It is for neutron detecting,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, I didn't get the phase two.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're on the right path, Venkato. Thank you very much. I'm not. It's very interesting that you don't think you should be able to influence it, but then you did it anyway. You did your own.
No, that is different. Is influence is different. One suppose some people will do the lobbying to influence the funding agency to get the funding.
So
Not
that's
going to
true,
be.
but we're not talking about funding. We're not talking
Yeah,
about funding. It's already funded. You want to get your fingerprints on the RFP. You kind of did it with the SIBR, but just a little different. You're right. It's different.
yeah.
But I
You
appreciate it.
cannot do lobbying. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Lobbying.
not lobbying. I don't do
Yeah.
lobbying. I do.
Because these days many people are calling, hey, we can lobbying for
Yeah.
you. You want this many grants. Can you collaborate with us? Can you pay this much money? We can lobbying on behalf of you.
Well, there's plenty of
Don't
money.
you think?
There's plenty of people asking for money for lobbying, right, Venkata?
Yeah,
All right.
plenty people are asking for lobbying. But I don't so think because these new people, they cannot fall under their trap. That's why I joined in this call.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm gonna end this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so 89%. That's why I love it. So it's not lobbying; it's actually influencing the RFP. In the let me lower your hand there. I mean, God, I appreciate it. So it's different from lobbying. It's actually a sales effort. We're going to be selling things, right? So let me see what everybody said about this real quick. I want to see what you guys said. Being the expert can clarify what they need in the RFP. Love this, Kelly. And help give them the answers they're really looking for. Hang on a second, Kelly. That was the first. You had the first answer. Hold on a second, Kelly. Can you unmute for a second?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. Tell me about your company first of all. Who do you work for?
So it's my company. We do air testing specific to NAVC, a NAVC program. So we're just trying to grow our influence within the whole network.
And you want to get your grubby little fingerprints on that RFP, don't you?
Always, because it's not always clear or it's slightly gray, and some clarification as far as testing procedures and their outcomes are going to make a big difference.
And that is pretty much universal. Whether
Correct.
you're doing your testing or whether you're selling cartridges, toner cartridges, you want to get your fingerprints on it because that gives you, first of all, it gives you an advantage, but it also helps the government with clarification, doesn't it, Kelly?
Yeah, because usually they have some kind of broad question. They think they know the answer, but then when you come in as the subject matter expert, you're refining it with them and you're helping them to get to the goal, because you don't want to do testing or, just waste a whole bunch of money. You want to get them to what their goal is, and sometimes they need a little help on that road.
No doubt about it. I could not agree with you more. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you want to pop open at any time and throw in, that's exactly what we're talking about here today. I appreciate that, Kelly. And here we go. If we know a name in advance, right? We can contact them in advance, right? If you know a name, and then you can always ask. I love this one from Dave. Educate on what we can uniquely provide, right? If you can educate them on the uniqueness of what you provide, you can also provide them a way to be able to buy from you, right? Without going out on sam.gov or even an RFP. You could maybe do it through a SIBR. Maybe you do it through an unsolicited proposal. Maybe you're doing it with a justification and approval. There's a lot of things you can do when you have that dialogue. That's what Kelly was talking about too. Get that dialogue. It's not just about, hey, here's all my crap. No, you want to be able to pull those in. Get in early. Love that one. Be proactive and familiar with with what is going to be released. Love that one, Patricia. Relationship creation with those involved. Curtis on fire. That's exactly right. And then here's another one. I don't know who this is, but it's yes, only if it's a good fit, and no, if you're presenting a new concept. Okay, I like that. Get ahead of the RFP before it's public. Absolutely, Jay Talbot. So the problem statement is this: we need to know early. We need to get ahead of that RFP, and we need to get our fingerprints on it. How do we do it? We do it by becoming the trusted resource. And we can also, by the way, look at what's happening today. Today is where we have a lot of change, right? We have the FAR being rewritten. We have contracting officers being transplanted over to GSA. They're pulling everything in under GSA. God bless us for that one. I just don't know how that's going to work right now. But we also have Doge. So pop into the chat. The number one thing that the government wants, everybody that you're talking to, what's the number one thing they're trying to do? Number one thing. Jay Talbot's got efficiency. That's right. Kelly's got to jump back. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly. Man, you are on fire. Make sure you catch the recording. Kelly's got to jump. What one thing? We got efficiency. That's one thing. Eliminate waste and fraud. That's a good one for Tristan. That's a good one. But there's one, that's it, Duke. That's it. They're CYA, covering their own booty. They're trying to make sure that they can maintain their job. So we want to leverage Doge. We want to leverage that. We know that they're concerned, right? That drives urgency for us. We don't have to drive the urgency. The urgency is being driven by Doge and the administration already. The urgency factor is already high. So we're going to talk about, but then we have a problem. Because in January, the OPM said, whoop, you can't talk to us vendors. HHS shut all the communications down. They weren't even talking about opportunities in current contracts that they had. They couldn't talk to us. And then we have another problem that I just mentioned. We have a travel ban. March 5th, they said, whoop, we're not traveling all over the place. You have to justify every living cent that you're spending on travel. So that creates a problem for us because that removes our ability to be able to communicate. So here's one of the problems that we're also up against. We don't know what's real. You don't know what's real. I don't know what's real. We see stuff on CNN. We see stuff on Fox News. Depending on the flavor of which side of the fence we live on, we don't know anything. And neither do they. So here, this freeze is still in place. And I'm like, okay, I got a brand new client. Oh, by the way, we make a living on communicating with govies. That's our job, is to help you communicate with govies. And all of a sudden, we got clients that are delaying their briefings that we're focusing to the government. They're delaying them. They're like, they're not allowed to show up. They're not allowed to sign up. I say, I don't know what's real. So I needed a couple, and I got both of these are in the handouts today. One of those is iAdvantage, and they do data collection. You can see the kind of stuff they do, the kind of folks they work with, big boys. They have a lot of success within other agencies, and they want to grow in their federal space. So with this case study, we literally framed it this way. It's the longest title I ever had. Meeting Doge requirements for data collection, compilation, communication, and reporting for projects and studies. Now, here's one thing. If you don't care about that, you're not showing up, right? If you don't care about data collection and dealing with projects and studies, you're not showing up. So when we turn this and face it outward and we say, who cares about meeting Doge requirements for data collection, specifically as it revolves around projects and studies. So we didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know if anybody would even come to the session. That's why I got together with them in a strategy session and said, hey, you willing to try this? I'm willing to try it. So this was the deal. Subject matter expertise is data collection and efficiency. We turned that and pointed it right at Doge. Literally downloaded the Doge documentation for everybody in case they were living under a rock. Jamie Blackburn's the presenter. Here we go. 318 Govies signed up from 39 different agencies. 185 of them attended. This is where it gets good. We did the session, had a lot of energy, had a lot of back and forth. You can actually see the session on GovBrief. You can find this exact session. It's free. You can gain access to it there. High praise with the comments, like very interesting and much appreciated, much needed. This is where we really get into it. And we do polls, just like I'm doing polls with you. Just like this. We do polls to say, hey, where are you at? What do you need? And oh, by the way, what are the next steps you'd like to have? Including the 49 of them gave us insider information that isn't going to hit anywhere else. It's not going in an RFP. It's not going in an RFI. It's dialogue between folks that need what you have, and they're saying, hey, how do you handle this? I'd like to talk more about this. In fact, they had 20 meeting follow-up requests right from the polls, and these are working right now. If you take, let me go back here. Let's take a look at a couple of these so that you can see what we're talking about. You got this one. We're looking for demos. Talking about existing need. Hey, maybe they want to do all three. Discuss an existing data collection need, schedule a demo, and talk about a pilot within my agency. This is all from that one session. This turns into a pipeline feeder. That's exactly what it's designed to be. It's working right now. And why are they coming to this session? They have a need. They definitely have interest in trying to solve the problem for Doge. We know that. They're looking for solutions. And if they don't have a current resource, if they had a current resource, they're either coming to see, hey, what are you going to do? Can you do it different than my current resource? Most of them don't have a current resource, which is why they're showing up. And now Jamie, he's the expert, and he's getting his fingerprints on all this because it's forward thinking, right? Most of the stuff in the government doesn't happen lickety split. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes over a year to be able to influence a scope of work or help craft that scope of work. So I'm not going to ask this poll. I think I'm going to ask a different one. Actually, what? Maybe I will. Let me see. This is not working the way it was supposed to today. So what is your area of expertise? Let me know what that is, and then we'll get into some specifics for you. So while you're filling that out, I'm going to talk about why GovBrief works. I'm going to get a little bit into the weeds and the details because I think a lot of times it's just, you think, hey, I'll put a webinar out there, or I'll put, I'll go do this session. But if you're planning to go to an event and you're a keynote speaker or you're one of the breakout speakers, right? That's a great position to be in because you get established by default as the SME. But in order for that to work, just like it didn't work, so the VETS conference was really challenging for a lot of folks that went because there weren't decision makers there. So the first thing is we have to have the agency stakeholders show up. And if you take a look at what's happening on the right-hand side there, we have section chief, chief health information officer, program manager, right? These are people that need to solve the problems. You can see some of those are analysts. Some of them are project managers. These are people with the problem. And because they're coming from the top all the way down, usually not SBA folks and OSDBUs, and just out of curiosity, how many folks here, now there are folks that do want, that OSDBUs and SBA folks, they're well-meaning people, But what's the biggest problem? Put that in the chat. What's the biggest problem with SBA folks and OSDBUs? What's the number one problem that they have? Pop that in the chat for me. They can't buy. That's right, Jay Talbot. They cannot buy. They don't have budget. And they don't have decision-making authority. Period. Most of them don't even have contracting experience in the agency. Narrow vision, that's true too. They're not wired for it. They try to help. P-Tax another place, right? All well-meaning people, right? So, Eric, I don't know if you're saying you're testing, but that's the reason. So, the next part is we need to tie into relevancy. If we are not relevant, I know Jay Talbot's going to type it in right away. Immediately, if we are not relevant, we are what? Irrelevant, Jay Talbot. You can put that into everybody. You're dead. That's right, Duke. You're dead. That's right. Relevancy is what matters. So what we do is we help to pull in agency research. You might already have some of that. You might have done some research. You might have. We'll take a look at the executive orders. We'll talk about what different agencies are asking for what, based on what you provide and based on your expertise and your topic, to say this is how we can help you solve your problems. We look at places where their pain points exist and say, hey, are you seeing this? Is this what you have? And then we'll look at how they're buying. And we'll drive people there. And you can see all examples of those. Title IX just being in the news just a little bit. Both sides. Last year we were pitching DEI. This year we're pitching Doge because that's the way they're buying. Then we do our invitations. You can see they're not going to light the world on fire from a marketing standpoint, theoretically, but I'll tell you what, we get their response. It's a government-like agenda. You are introduced as the expert. We have the paragraph that says this is what it's all about. Then we tell them who should join, and we show what we're doing. Sometimes right down to the timing, and we set the clear expectations of what they can learn from being there. Once we get them to understand what it is, then we create the presentation with you. You're the subject matter expert. I'm the host. I kind of manage things a little bit, or somebody else is the host. Then we're pulling in your case studies to support how you solve the problem, how your best practice works. You're giving them the secret sauce of how you'll solve their problems. And you have those case studies. And those case studies are the ones that resonate. And I have this one right here specifically because it turned into a contract that I'll show you in a minute. And then we talk about how they can buy from you. We start with a disclaimer saying they don't have to buy from anybody. And then we tell them, oh, if you want to buy from them, they have a GSA contract, or they have this IDIQ, or they're on this GWAC, or they have this BPA, or they're small, or they're 8A. If you need to make socioeconomic, any of your socioeconomic, we put that out there for them to see that you not only understand their pain points, you understand how to solve their problems, and you have a contract vehicle to be able to get there, or you have partners that'll help you get there. And that is the way that it works. And then we do polls just like this, just like you're doing right now. We get the feedback so that you're engaged, they're engaged, everybody's engaged. And at the same time, we're qualifying to say, hey, are you a good fit? Are you a good fit for GovBrief? You're going to know at the end of this session. I guarantee you that. You're going to find out if you're a good fit. Now, if we flip this and we put it to the government, because this is a pitch session, but yours is an education session, hey, let's talk about this some more. And this is the kind of things that we get by asking the right kinds of polls. Like, hey, I haven't even started. What a great place to be if you're going to help them through zero trust, right? And key, even in the registration, we do this. I expect a requirement when. That this is the money place where we start to say, hey, we know that you got something important. Let's see if we can figure this out. immediately. That means now. Then follow up with them right now. And then you could say, all right, well, let's talk about this and later on. Here's the beauty of it and my favorite thing. And if those of you that know me know that I run SAM Radar as well, 98% aren't hitting sam.gov. And if that's the case, we want to get our fingerprints on it. We want to direct the acquisition strategy, and we want to drive our call to action to make sure that you have a recap and follow-up meeting, because that's the play. All the registrants get a recap email after the fact, and you get the attendee report saying, I need this, which means you pick up the freaking phone, turn into the sales. By the way, sales is becoming much more important. Right? With OTAs being another avenue, FAR is being redone, all that. You get the attendee reports that you can do your follow-up. We as companies spend thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars going to being at a trade show and doing booths. Yes, you have to do it. That's part of the business. But being in front of people at a trade show is even better. That's what I do when I go. And the beautiful thing is about this is it's repeatable and it continues to feed your pipeline. It's the top part of your pipeline, and it's showing you people you would never be able to meet any other way. And they show up to your session the same reason they show up for everybody else's. They have a need, they're looking for solutions, and they don't have a current resource in order to be able to fulfill that need. And we make it easy for you to do it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I call it white glove treatment. We just pick the date, just like we did with Jay. Pick a date. We manage the whole thing. We handle agenda all the way through the help presentation, everything. We'll help walk you through that. And we have as many meetings as we need in order to be able to fulfill that. And the first one's always the most challenging because you never did it before. But once you do it, you kind of get the vibe, you get the way that things work. And then we take that all the way through. We do a finalized video like you've seen already. I'll show you a couple more. And then we have that posted on YouTube, and you can use it for whatever marketing you want. You were featured on GovBrief. Here's a link. You can edit it. You can cut it down. You can do whatever you like. The most important thing that we'll help you do right now is to align your pain points to pitch points. And I'll show you, this is actually pre-Doge, and this has to do with toner cartridges, cartridge saver, and office supplies. This is many years ago, 2014. They ended their contract, and they couldn't continue their next contract. Let me end this poll. Appreciate you guys filling that out, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. And this is the deal. They were forced to suspend the contract. So here's the biggest problem. The VA was mandated. One of their biggest clients for cartridge savers was the VA. And they're like, what do we do? We don't know where to buy our office supplies because we were mandated to buy it off of OS2. Big black eye for GSA. So this is what we did. We offered, hey, we got an answer for you. It was a really simple answer. Schedule 75. That was it. That was the answer. But nobody was giving them the answer. So we got on, tooled this up really quick. We had over 2,000 registrants. 1,700 showed up. All of these are contracting officers that need to buy what? Office supplies. And we told them from the beginning. By the way, this got run up all the way to legal. I've never seen anything happen at GSA so fast. Went up to legal, came over, because guess what? Cartridge Savers was bidding on OS3 at the time, came right down on top of my client. And my client, this is how you get fired, by the way. The client calls me up and says, Dave, legal just called me from GSA. I was like, you have my attention. So what do they want? Well, why don't we give them the disclaimer that we're not, they're worried that, we're looking like we're from an agency. We're not an agency. So we actually created this for them, got approval from legal in one day. I couldn't believe it. We got the approval. They said, okay, that's good enough. And from here on out, we use this on every briefing we got because it's GSA approved. How about that? So, and we had one lady that was really irate. She went up, that's what got up the flagpole so fast. And she actually showed up to the session. Amazing response from her. She was like, this is what GSA should be doing. So the results were, as you can see, $6.9 million in sales. That's the reason we did it. They had a problem. They couldn't buy office supplies off of OS2. That's a problem. Simple solution. Schedule 75. We gave them the whole list of all Schedule 75 holders as a gap solution. Oh, by the way, Rob is one of them. And we pushed everything through Schedule 75. I just want to reiterate, that is results. That's what we're after when we do it. They showed up the session because they had a need. They needed to buy office supplies. They were looking for a solution because the solution that GSA had didn't exist anymore. Current resource was shut down. So we made Rob the expert. Rob helped them solve their problems. Now Rob was the white knight. Here's another pre-Doge session. My favorite is one of my favorites ever. Komal Goyal from 6E Technologies. We did this and we leveraged an executive order to transition to electronic records, right? And robotic process, RPA, that's what does it. Here's the statistics from this one session: 187 registrants, 121 attendees, 54 different agencies, and we had a whole bunch of interest, 34 non-published opportunities saying, hey, I need work, I need help with this. There was immediate interest in the chat. I want to talk to Komal today. That was also said. I need to talk to Komal today. Busy people have very short responses. I need to talk. And this turned into follow-up meetings with a new relationship. They actually drove it through a prime, up through a prime, as opposed to going direct. Multi-million-dollar CMS contract. Again, this is what it looks like. And if you want to know if she's real, this is her. Oh, hold on a second. I got to share my music. I forgot. 1 second. I will do it. Here we go. You ready?
You should never stop this service of GovBrief ever. You're not allowed to.
I got that recorded. I'm putting that on GovBrief.
We finally got to compare it to yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I sat through that and I was back in college 30 years ago going, man, this would be so much more fun if I had a beer here under the table. You're a great MC and it allows us to do a good presentation. I had a friend of mine who actually went and found our video about RPA online, watched it so she could learn about RPA. She said it was easier to learn about RPA by watching your video that you'd done for that 1 hour than it was to go read stuff about it.
That's a great compliment. That's a great compliment. That's why you're not allowed to stop this service at GovBrief.
Exactly.
I'm saying that again on record.
So yeah, that's Komal, and she is awesome. And she called me from CMS. That's why I went and took pictures with her at CMS because she was finishing up the deal. So that's an example of how companies can do this to build relationships. You need to get established. GovBrief can help you do that. So if we're talking about drug testing, here's another one. They have a need. They're looking for solutions. You either care about drug testing or not. This is the other one, the brand new client. We're doing another one with them next week or the week after. So this is instant drug testing, virtual drug testing, and we plugged in the efficiencies. We had 81 that attended, 36 were Govies, 44 were companies, and we don't know what the other 5 were on the phone. Can't tell that from Zoom. But we had a lot of interaction, And we went out after both govies and primes, people that doing the service. Both of them are valuable. We have the database, 3.8 million. And we had, like I said, 108 with registered, 80 attended, and 11 follow-up meetings. And I believe, I haven't gotten the final from them, but I think one of them actually already closed. And this is what's important. They didn't even know that stat test existed. But now, if they have a need for drug testing, especially looking for efficiencies to be able to do drug testing virtually, you can do it. And they got their fingerprints all over upcoming RFPs. So, it's still working here? Let's see. Yep, Chris, both government and industry as well. And I'm just going to go to the finals here to say, I do want to know if you have a solution for Doge. Do you have a solution for Doge? Or not? You don't have to pick that second one. That was actually from another day. So, where are they going if they're not going to sam.gov? They're coming to people that they have relationships with. Yep, that's exactly right. How can they do drug testing virtually without giving a sample? That's exactly right, Venkata. They can do it with a sample. They have sample kits that can be carried, and they can do the swab right then. It's oral, and they can send the report. Patricia, appreciate you joining us. We're glad to have. If you don't have a solution that you know is Doge ready, I recommend that you join this session, which is GovCon branding with Rafael Marrero, because he will help you. If you're not, because I guarantee you, if you're not framing it in Doge, if you're not framing everything that we do, anything you do, efficiency, cost savings, proactivity, all that stuff, if you're not doing that, you're going to lose. You got to do it because Doge is reviewing everything. So if you're interested in that, you can do that. So here's the thing. There's limited space for us to be able to promote to the government. We don't do it. We don't pepper them to death. We only invite them to things we think that they're going to be interested in. So we're looking for clients who know that you have a solution for Doge, know the importance of influence, and you want to take advantage of the fact that you can't get to them any other way. And to give you ideas, we just saw our RPA. It works across the board. We've done this in so many different ways to reach the govies. And they could be we did one that I didn't even think was going to work. It was shackles, like shackles used on cranes. Who would have figured? Who'd have figured? Safety people came. Hey, I want to know about self-centering shackles. Didn't even know that was a thing. And then next thing you know, they're asking, we had a dozen people asking for samples. Unbelievable. I just didn't think it was going to work. I just didn't think. So it does work. And I'll tell you if it won't work. We'll run it through our systems and we'll say, hey, this is going to work or not. So here's what it looks like. It doesn't work for lawyers. I can tell you that. It works for anything but lawyers. We did it once with lawyers. They don't want lawyers. But if you reframe your lawyering to training, you can get there. All right. I'm going to end this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. You're already on the session. That's why I didn't realize that one was there. Let me do this real quick. Told you. Shoemaker's son. So what I do want to say is this is how this works. And in your handouts, you have, by the way, if you didn't get the handouts, let me make sure I put that in there for you. Session docs are right there. Recording will be made available. So this is how it looks. It's easy. $7,500 handles everything for your first briefing. So your onboarding handles your your research that we do through ISI Federal's research. We find buyers in your space, and we handle everything soup to nuts, help you develop your presentation and everything. So additional briefings are simple as well. It's $4,500 a piece. If you do 6+ with an annual commitment, they're $3,850 a piece. So factor that into your marketing, factor that into what you're looking at. And if you do a 10%, if you do annual, we'll do 10% prepay. And what this means, as far as your research is, we literally use the same $4,500 thing we do for GovBrief. We have a light version that we charge $2,000 for. It's included with those, and then your $4,500 for additional, $3,850 if you have your annual commitment, and 10% if you want to save some for annual prepay. You can literally, it takes 5 weeks from the time you start to the time your first briefing can be. So the first one that you do has got to be at least 5 weeks away, and we'll get your fingerprints on things and help you craft and present yourself. So that's what we got right now. I appreciate you guys joining me. If you are interested, I can tell you this. If you have a solution for Doge, you want to reach decision makers, you know how important that is, we will help you reach those federal decision makers.
GovBrief is incredible.
It couldn't get any easier. Showed the difference between us and everybody else.
In fact, we couldn't have scripted it better.
118 people stayed for the whole thing.
We did less time and we got more leads. People already filling the forms.
There is no question why GovBrief is as successful as they are.
I thought I knew it all, and then I thought, why not subscribe, like buy your webinar?
Oops, sorry.
And then I won a contract.
If you had one thing to say to people about them using GovBrief, what would it be?
Do it.
I appreciate that. So we'll let you guys out of here. The handouts have the agreements. You just let me know that you want to do it. You have questions and comments. We will we'll make sure you get what you need. I thought I had one more poll, but I guess I don't. It's not working the way we want it. What is my service 100% warranty? Venkata? No, not this one. Sam Radar's 100%. This one, there's a lot of moving pieces. I tell you what we will do. We'll drive decision makers, or we'll postpone it and then do it again and make sure we get it right. We've done that a couple times though. I will make sure that we drive decision makers. The follow-up, that's on you. That makes sense? Any questions before we jump off of this? I'll give you one more. Let's see. Let's go right here. All right, Eric's going to reach out. Appreciate that, Eric. Any questions about the process? Because it's really simple. It's first come, first serve on briefing dates. We have availability. We have a couple available in late June, a couple in July, and a couple in August. So if you're interested in doing that, we will do it. It's 100% managed by us. Kyle, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you. We'll get you guys going. As you're working through this, I will say this: there's always things on demand where you're on GovBrief, so you can point them there. You can use that as part of your marketing materials, and you'll always be this me on GovBrief. So you can see those. You can check them out right now. GovBrief.us. Just sign that agreement, pick your briefing date, schedule on-board briefing, and I appreciate you guys joining me. We'll get you out of here. I took a couple extra minutes. My apologies for that. You are welcome, Duke. Appreciate that. Love to talk about what you're doing with STEM tech. Appreciate that. Any other questions before we jump? Again, I really appreciate you spending an hour with me today. It's cool. It's cool to be able to present this. I don't do it much as I should. And I do appreciate you guys joining us. Any last minute things before we jump? All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. You are welcome. Jamie, So we'll see you guys next time.